Let's hold it down. Clerk, open the rolls.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, I know the House is still in session, but we're going to try to deal with some bills, particularly starting with the ones that are identical to the House bills. If you have the sheet in front of you, you'll notice there's the duplicates of the Senate bills. Because there's been some discussion on House Bill 2515, I'm going to pull that bill out of the block. Can you handle a block vote, clerk? Can we handle it? Okay. All bills but 2515, we're going to put into a block. Been moved and seconded that the block be reported as soon as we're ready to go. Waiting on the block. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the block bill, that's all the bills listed under duplicate of Senate bills with the exception of Senate Bill 2515 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, those bills are reported. And since we're waiting on House members, why don't we take, since 2515, we pulled that out of the block, we can have some discussion. I know the delegate's not here, but we passed Senator Donovan's bill, which was identical to House Bill 2515, but the Bureau of Insurance has brought up a little bit of information. Perhaps Julie Levitt from the Bureau, if you could come up and you have had a chance to look at both bills and some actions going on in Washington, D.C. If you could explain to us what's going on.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Julie Blavel with the Bureau of Insurance. And in the 2020 Notice of Benefit and Payment Parameters proposed federal rules that were just released recently, they did talk about the issue of manufacturer drug coupons or any payments made on behalf of a enrollee regarding prescription drugs. And in the bill, they did propose that they would not count the drug coupon payments or these payments made on behalf of enrollee to the member's out-of-pocket maximum if there was a generic available for the brand name drug.
Right.
So they are asking for comments on whether states can decide whether to go against a proposal that would require that. And also they're trying to decide whether that would just apply, if they did enforce the rule, if that would just apply to qualified health plans, so the plans basically that are offered on the exchange in the individual and small group markets.
Okay. So what you're saying is that if we went ahead and passed this legislation as is, it could conceivably be overturned or by
It's a
CMS?
possibility. Of course, they're still asking for comments. It's a proposal, and my sense is that states will comment that they would like to be able to impose state law.
Knowing how fast Washington works, and it may shut down in a few days anyway, would anything change between now and next Monday, which is our last committee meeting?
No.
Nothing would change. Okay. Well, we've already reported one bill, Senator Donovan's bill. This bill, Senator Newman, you have a comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think what the gentlelady says needs to be taken very seriously, but I think between now and the floor, if we do pass the bill, that we could look at that. If we need to put some enactment clauses around it to make sure it's okay, we could probably take care of your concern in the event there's federal action.
And would that do it? Because I had a discussion earlier with some of the members out here that put an enactment clause on that says if this rules and regulations become effective, then this law would effectively go off the books. Would that cover what we're talking about?
Yes, I would think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that 2515 be reported with the caveat that we may have a floor amendment coming. And I would ask staff, Chrissy or Frank, work on that floor amendment for us, okay? And we'll inform Delegate Hugo when he gets here of what just transpired. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Clerk, open the rolls. Motion is to report.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill is reported. Let's see. I have bills to be conformed to Senate bills, and I'll take them up in order. If either Frank or Chrissy could tell us, give us a brief explanation of the bill and tell us what we need to conform. We'll start with 2109, Delegate O'Quinn's bill.
Mr. Chairman, this is the bill dealing with the guaranteed asset protection waivers. It is the same bill that Senator Chafin had. The amendment is on a civil technical amendment on, if you look at line 51 after shall not, there's an extra 2 in there. So the amendment just strikes the word "to." With that change, it will be identical to Senator Chafin's bill.
Okay, is there a motion on that amendment? Been moved and seconded that amendment be passed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, is there a motion to report as amended? Been moved and seconded the bill be reported as amended. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, 13 ayes, 0 nays. That bill's reported. On to House Bill 2186, Delegate Kilgore's bill. If you want to.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the travel insurance bill. We saw the same bill in this committee from Senator Dunavant, and there is a line amendment that would conform the bill to make it the same. That is on line 161 of the engrossed after insurance agent, strike, or under its own agent license.
Okay, now that's original language. That's not, okay, and why are we striking original language? Both houses are conforming, okay. All right, is there a motion on that amendment? Been moved and seconded, the amendment be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2186 be reported as amended. Clerk, open the rolls.
Fourteen ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, that bill's reported. House Bill 2292, Delegate Sullivan's bill.
Mr. Chairman, there's an amendment in nature for substitute to this bill. The bill deals with energy efficiency programs. The substitute would conform it to your Senate Bill 1662.
Okay. Is there a motion on the substitute? Been moved and seconded that substitute 2292 be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. The substitute's before us. I'll ask Frank or Chrissy, either one. Does the House seem amenable to my substitute, or have you gotten there yet?
We haven't discussed it yet. The House is meeting tomorrow to take it up. I don't think there are major substantive differences. The main thing is that your version includes the definition section, and in that definition includes some substantive language that is included in the text of another section in the bill. So it's a matter of probably form more than substance.
Form over function? Okay. All right. Is there a motion on the substitute? Been moved and seconded to substitute to House Bill 2292 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. All right.
13 ayes, 1 nay.
13 ayes, 1 nay. All right. That bill's reported. Moving on, 2473, Delegate Price's bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Delegate Price's minimum wage bill. We're going to conform the bill to Senator Spruill's minimum wage bill. Both bills had struck the exemptions for newsboys, shoeshine boys, babysitters, ushers, doormen, concession attendants, and cashiers in theaters. Senator Spruill's bill also removes the exemption for work that is done by the peace, as well as any person who is employed by an employer who does not have 4 or more persons employed at any one time.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Senator Spruill.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the way the bill that originally was drafted in the Senate and the House, and we amended in the Senate. And so talked with Delegate Price, and we came to the agreement that if possible, we'd like to remove the amendment that we added to the Senate. We don't remove that, so they both can be the same.
So, Senator Spruill, are you happy with the substitute that was just passed out? Is that what you're looking for? You're looking for your original bill? Or are you looking for Delegate Price's original bill?
I assume the substitute put it,
Mr. Chairman, the bills, in order to be identical, would just contain the exemptions for the newsboys, shoeshine boys, babysitters, ushers, excuse me, not babysitters, ushers, doormen, concession attendants, and cashiers in theaters. Your bill went beyond that in 2 different ways. The one way was the work that was done by the peace that I think was a floor amendment added by Senator Howell, as well as your bill contained the exemption for employers that employ 4 or fewer employees. So there's 2 additional carve-outs in your bill that are not in the Delegate Price bill.
so.
Are they in the substitute?
Yes.
Okay, so the substitute before you, Senator Spruill,
So the question that we want to
makes this-
remove, because I'm trying to make it identical to the way it was, since the Delegate Price bill, so the way we had it before.
You want it to look exactly like Delegate
that's
Price's
right.
bill?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then the substitute does it. Don't accept the substitute, okay. All right, the substitute's before us. However, we haven't adopted, which take us back to Delegate Price's original bill. Okay, is there a motion on that bill?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2473, as delivered to the committee, be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill's reported. Okay, Senator Hugo's bill, 2547. Can you tell us what the difference is?
Mr. Chairman, I'll try to explain that. The bills are identical as they made their way out of the committees before crossover. On the floor, the House bill was amended on line 232. The motion was made to strike effect and insert affect. And after discussing that with our editors, they say that it was proper the way it was before. So the line amendment is to undo that change and return line 232 to the way it was before it fell into its fate on the floor.
And what would the effect of that be? That joke's credited to Senator Newman, by the way. It's whispering in my ear, but it was a pretty good joke. So, okay, is there a motion on the amendment? It's been moved and seconded that we change effect back to effect. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? A regular joker here. Okay. All right, that amendment's been adopted. And now we have it identical. Is there anyone? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there anyone wish to speak? Yes, sir. I saw you handed there, so I haven't been.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, my name is John Stevens, and I'm here representing the State Corporation Commission staff. The commission has no position on the bill, but wanted to be sure that you all are fully informed of its impact on the commission's authority. The specific provisions of the bill that I'm addressing are found on lines 248 through 253 of the bill. Under these provisions, cooperative boards will receive a significant expansion of their authority to design customer rates outside of an SCC rate case. Specifically, the Commission will no longer exercise regulation over the design of rates for customers who net meter pursuant to these net metering provisions. Similarly, the commission will no longer regulate the design of rates of the cooperative's large commercial customers. For these customers, a redesign of rates can reduce the expected savings from their net metering and any conservation measures they have undertaken previously. In contrast, customers that have implemented net metering and/or conservation measures that are served by investor-owned utilities will not be subject to similar redesigns of rates outside of commission proceedings or reviews. In sum, this proposal is revenue neutral, we agree. However, it's not customer bill neutral. A rate design change implemented in this manner will raise some customers' bills within a rate class while lowering others. And I'm available for any questions at this time.
Would you generally describe who would be the winners and who would be the losers in a co-op service territory?
It would depend on exactly what type of rate design change the cooperatives choose to make. In short, if the cooperatives choose to raise demand rates and lower volumetric energy rates, then it's likely that customers that have undertaken net metering or conservation measures will lose some of their anticipated savings.
Okay. Are there any questions? Senator Black.
So the alternative to this would be a situation where the State Corporation Commission is able to analyze and essentially represent the interests of the ratepayers?
That is correct. Yes, sir, that's correct.
So under this bill, the State Corporation Commission's ability to protect the public diminishes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? I think Mr. Behorns wants to chat with the committee for a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, I would say we may disagree in what this bill does. What this bill does is prescribe that the electric co-ops can reduce the subsidy inherent in net metering today through a revenue-neutral demand charge. And what that means is if we implement a demand charge to better recover costs, something else has to be lowered so that there's not a net increase on rates or bills. This doesn't do anything to the SCC's authority or jurisdiction over electric co-ops. They still regulate these rates. These things would still be filed with the commission. And just as today, if they see something they don't like, they have the ability to call anyone in whatsoever. So this is not a deregulation of anything. It's a compromise that enables cooperative members to have access to solar that's been negotiated through the Rubin Group.
Okay. All right, does that clear it up? Okay, committee operates by motion. Been moved and seconded that House Bill 2547 as amended be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
12 ayes, 2 nays.
Okay, thank you. That bill's reported. House Bill 2639.
Mr. Chairman, this bill before you now is identical to Senate Bill 1611 that Senator Donovan had dealing with the issue of the healthcare shared savings. However, we've been notified that the patron on both the House and Senate side would like an amendment added to the bill to change the definition of comparable healthcare services on line 21. Before I report the amendment, it might be easier to explain it, Mr. Chairman. The issue is that the current definition provides that comparable healthcare service means any of these covered healthcare services, and it says including, and it lists 4 items. The issue is that by wording it that way, it would include those 4 items and anything else. And the idea was to include these 4 items and anything else at the discretion of the health carrier. So with that thought in mind, the amendment, Mr. Chairman, on line 21, after comparable health care service means, strike the rest of that existing definition and insert means any physical and occupational therapy service 2, radiology and imaging service, 3, laboratory service, 4, infusion therapy service, and 5, at the discretion of the health carrier, other healthcare service, provided that with respect to any service described in clauses 1 through 5, the service A is a covered non-emergency healthcare service or bundle of healthcare services provided by a network provider, and B is a service for which the health carrier has not demonstrated that the allowed amount variation among participating providers is less than $50.
Okay, thank you. And that's a proposed amendment? Okay. Is there a motion on that amendment? Been moved and seconded that that amendment be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that amendment's before us. Now, that amendment's going to be put on both bills. Do I understand that right? Okay, and both patrons are amenable to that. Okay, and we've already passed that bill out of here, I believe 15-0, didn't we not? Don't think there was any dissenting votes, was there? Anybody wish to speak?
We also had one additional amendment related to the, and Frank, I think you have that.
Yeah. Second amendment, Mr. Chairman, on line 124, after the word after, strike January, insert July.
That just gives one health carrier had requested an extra 6 months to stand up the transparency piece, and everybody was good with that as well, so.
Okay, is there a motion on that amendment? Moved and seconded that that amendment be adopted. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the bill's before us as amended. Is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded that House Bill 2639 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay,
15 ayes, 0 nays.
that bill's reported. Okay, House Bill 2770, Delegate Murphy's bill.
Mr. Chairman, this is the bill dealing with the accident and sickness insurance premiums and variations in the area rate factors. It's identical to Senate Bill 1734 that Senator Deeds carried. As with the previous bill, both bills are being requested to being amended. In this case, there's a substitute that is being distributed now. The substitute incorporates changes recommended by the Bureau of Insurance in order to assist them in implementing the purpose of the bill. I don't believe there are any substantive changes. Most of the changes, I understand, have to do with the definitions.
Okay, is there a motion on the substitute? Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the substitute to 2770 is before us. It's been moved and seconded that the substitute to House Bill 2770 be reported. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment on 2770? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sarah Stovall. This is Ian Dixon. We're founding members of Charlottesville for Reasonable Health Insurance, a consumer advocacy group that formed in response to the tripling of health care premiums in the individual market in 2018. We support this bill because we think it's going to prevent such things from happening again in Charlottesville and the rest of the Commonwealth. We simply believe that if an insurance company wants to charge a region of the state historically high rates, they should have to show their work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone opposed? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. The amendment in the nature of substitute. Clerk, open the rolls.
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill's reported. Moving on, our final bill is 2786. It's Delegate Ingram's bill. It is the coal ash bill. Do we have a substitute? Okay. And the substitute conforms it to the bill that passed out of this committee? Been moved and seconded that the substitute 2786 be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay. The substitute's before us. With the substitute, this makes it identical to the bill that we passed out of here and passed the Senate, dealt with the coal ash. What's that? Does it, Frank, does this incorporate the floor amendment and substitute? Yes, it does. Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded that the House bill, the amendment nature substitute to 2786 be reported. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the bill?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Dave Albo on behalf of NCAPIT. It's not that we oppose the bill. The bill is much better than what it started, but we just want to make you aware that you're missing out on an opportunity. This bill, the House version allowed recycling, any type of recycling. This bill only allows encapsulated recycling. So what you're missing out on is other technologies. One company that approached us, we don't represent them, but they have a process where they can extract precious metals and chemicals from the coal ash and then sell it in the market, and they share the revenue with Dominion. So another way to save a lot of money. Just want to make you aware that this bill in its present form does not allow for that technology or any other type of technology other than encapsulated.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Stewart.
I tend to agree with the gentleman. We had this discussion briefly on the floor of the Senate, but the amendments that I offered had a lot of other things in it, but I really would like for us to give this serious consideration. There are other beneficial uses that this can be used for other than an encapsulated use. And I believe there is review, would still be review by the SCC in the bill to determine whether or not it was a safe beneficial use. So I would actually move that we amend the bill such that we don't just have to have an encapsulated use. I can't do that, but I know that Frank or Christie probably can. And Mr. Chairman, it allows us to recycle it, but at the same time save, I've heard, upwards of $1 billion for the ratepayers, which is pretty significant.
All right, is there? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that amendment, we don't know quite what it looks like yet, but it's being drafted, be adopted. So why don't we
Chairman.
wait to hear some language? Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would urge the committee not to adopt any changes to this bill. This is a long, fought-out, drawn-out, give-and-take bill that's been the work of quite a few years, actually. Having been from a community where we used unencapsulated fly ash to build a golf course, and also road beds that were basically flooded, and the ash was then exposed. The encapsulation part actually makes it very clear that this beneficial use is going to be encapsulated and non-toxic and not a danger to anybody else. Having come from that community where those things actually happened, I would hope that we would just pass the substitute that matches the bill we passed on the Senate floor. Thank you.
And Senator Cosgrove, I would concur with you, but we do have a motion properly supported for this amendment. So let's hear from people who might want to talk about it while it's being drafted, since everybody understands the concept. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Nate Benferrato at the Southern Environmental Law Center. Just want to echo Senator Cosgrove's comments. We support encapsulated uses. It's a chemical process that binds all the bad stuff in a solid form. It's proven, it's safe. There may be some unencapsulated uses that could work, but you're opening up the door to a universe of risk and uncertainty. So let's clean this up once and for all. So I would support rejecting the amendment and sticking with the Senate language.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Senator Philip Musegas with Potomac Riverkeeper Network. We would support Southern Environmental Law Center's comments and the comments from Senator Cosgrove. We support keeping that language out of the amendment, out of the bill, and keeping the language as you proposed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Murray from Dominion Energy. I'll simply say, and this echoes some things Senator Cosgrove and Senator Wagner said, this was a product of a long negotiation where this point was discussed, and in our view is the bill as it passed the Senate was the form of the bill that we're most supportive of. If it is your pleasure to adopt the amendment, it is important to reference both federal and state law and regulation. But just to repeat, we do support the form of the bill that left the Senate.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do we have an amendment? Let's hear the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the substitute, on lines 26 to 27, we would strike the definition of encapsulated beneficial use. On line 35, we would strike, on line 35, strike encapsulated after for and insert in compliance with all applicable federal laws and regulations. And then the third amendment would be on line 64, after utilized for, strike encapsulated.
Okay, does the committee understand the amendments? With a recommendation from the chair that it be rejected. But there was a motion properly supported by Senator Stewart to Senator Black. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. No. Okay, that amendment's rejected. All right, the substitute's before it's been moved and seconded. The substitute be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill's reported. Okay. We are still waiting for House members to show up. And we have one other bill. It's really out of our bailiwick. It's House Bill 1987. Delegate Toscano's bill that belongs in Rehab and Social Services, and that chair would entertain a motion to been moved and seconded that that bill be referred to the Committee of Rehabilitation and Social Services. Clerk, open the rolls.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. Thought I did. Okay, that bill's out of here. We have bills that need a committee recommendation, but I also have the hook from Senate Finance that they need to go to Finance. So we have 3 duplicate bills that fall in that category. Clerk, either Frank or Chrissy, House Bill 1804.
Mr. Chairman, House Bill 1804 is Delegate Hugo's bill dealing with the presumption for certain types of cancers. This bill is identical to, as it is before us now, to a bill that was carried by Senator Cosgrove, Senate Bill 1030. This bill is a little different than it was when we saw it before because it's since had a reenactment clause added to it, as well as an enactment clause dealing with examining the results of a JLARC study. So the bill is, the Senate bill has already passed the House and is on its way to the third floor.
With those enactment clauses on it?
Yes.
Okay, and so far, those enactment clauses have not been put on Delegate Hugo's bill.
I'm sorry, they are on Delegate Hugo's
They
bill.
are on Delegate Hugo, so they're identical.
Yes, but we do have the letter to have this bill
Sent to
go
Finance?
upstairs.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
having carried that bill on the House side, I would move that we report that bill and then refer to Finance.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that House Bill 1804 be reported and re-referred to Committee on Finance. Clerk, open the rolls.
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
That bill's sent to Finance. Okay, we also have House Bill 2260.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2260 is a catastrophic health plans bill patroned by Delegate Robinson. This is the same bill that Senator Sturtevant offered and reported unanimously out of this committee, and it would authorize health carriers to offer catastrophic health plans.
Okay, I think we understand the bill. The proper motion would be to report and re-refer to Committee on Finances. Moved and seconded that House Bill 2260 be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, that bill's been sent to Finance. So, I mean, I also have House Bill 2577, also a duplicate of a Senate bill.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is identical to Senate Bill 1693 that Senator Vogel carried. As it is before us, it's the same bill. And it's included in the letter from the Finance Committee Chairman.
Okay. Been moved and seconded that House Bill 2577 be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay, that bill's been reported.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. All right. The House is doing a marathon session today? If the committee could give attention to House Bill 1759, that is an agency bill from the Bureau of Insurance. Is anybody from the Bureau of Insurance would like to talk to 1759? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Smith. I'm with the State Corporation Commission Bureau of Insurance. And this bill, House Bill 1759, comes at the request of the Bureau. An insurer group is a large, complex, and sometimes a global group of companies under one ultimate company. The affiliate and subsidiary companies in the group may be corporately domiciled in one or more states. HB 759 authorizes Virginia to act as a group-wide supervisor for an internationally active insurance group, which is defined as a group that has at least $50 billion in assets, writes at least 10% of its business overseas, and writes in at least 3 different countries. Regulation of these groups has become especially important as insurers have expanded on a global basis. The bill will allow the Commission to either assume the role as a group-wide supervisor or acknowledge another regulator as the group-wide supervisor. The bill also outlines the duties that a group-wide supervisor may perform, such as assessing governance, risk assessment, and capital adequacy on a group-wide level. The measures and bills were shared with industry representatives and interested parties last fall, and there's no known opposition.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay. Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none, the committee operates.
report.
Been moved and seconded that House Bill 1759 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, that bill's reported. Delegate Toscano. You come early, we'll take you right away.
Thank you, sir. You're about ready to be besieged by House members running out of the chamber. Thank you. I have 2345.
Okay.
There have been so many substitutes on this, I'm not sure whether we have another one. I don't think so. I think this is actually the one we're working with here. So this is one of several bills that have been designed to try to rein in health insurance costs, and it's designed to give the Bureau of Insurance more teeth to review requests for rate changes. Under the and we worked very hard with the Bureau of Insurance, went through a lot of different drafts to make sure that it's right. The basis of the bill is it does codify a number of the regulations that BOI has for how they handle rate applications. It also has some provisions that say you can get additional information from health insurance providers to make sure you can determine whether the rate increases are proper. And there also is a provision by which they can order a rate reduction. That's on lines 52 through, 52 through 54 of the bill. As you might recall, Charlottesville a couple of years ago had the biggest rate spike in the country. I've had a number of people working on these kind of measures for a couple of years. The BOI worked with us on this. I don't think there's any opposition to the bill, and I think there's some folks who came to testify for it, although I haven't seen them yet since I just got here.
We've had one nice group from Charlottesville here to testify on a previous bill. I'm sure they're in favor of this. I don't know if they're still with us or not.
I don't know either.
I don't see them, but we take your word on it. They were here earlier, Delegate Toscano.
Thank you.
Are there questions for the patron? Is anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none. Been moved and seconded that House Bill 2345 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
That bill's reported.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand you referred HB 1987 to another committee. I think that was the
Yes, I
only
did.
other-
That bill's been referred to Rehabilitation and Social
I think I'm
Services.
done. Thank you very much.
Okay, is there another delegate here? All right, do we have another agency bill, Frank?
Mr. Chairman, we have House Bill 1925.
All right, committee pay attention, House Bill 1925. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Mr. Chairman, I was hoping that Joel Peck would be here to explain the bill. Well, this bill is a cleanup bill. You may recall a few years ago, the General Assembly enacted legislation that eventually would require the State Corporation Commission to be the place where assumed name certificates are filed. And there was a original, we thought that it was going to be happening by May 1st of 2019. That date seemed too optimistic. So last year, there was legislation that pushed that date back to January 1, 2020. However, in our haste, we missed this section entitled 59.1. And what this bill does is change that May 1, 2019 date to January 1, 2020. And it has an emergency clause so that it would take effect before that May 1 date.
Okay. Yes, sir. Did you wish to add a few?
I'm Joel Peck, the clerk at the commission that Frank didn't see earlier, but Frank did a fine job of explaining what we're trying to do with this bill.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Any questions? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. 15 ayes. House Bill 1925 is reported. Mr. Heretic, pays to be prompt.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Senators. I have two. Where would you like to start?
It's your choice.
Let's try 2284, I guess would be the easier one to start with.
All right. Committee pay attention, 2284.
Mr. Chairman, members, House Bill 2284 would simply revise the current 6.2-2001. This is a section of the code that basically sets some licensing and qualification standards for entities that provide debt payment services. This particular bill, coming at the request of the Bankers Association, among others, would simply remove banking and savings and loan institutions and credit unions from those who are subject to compliance with this particular area of the law, recognizing that attorneys are already exempt and that banks, credit unions, and savings institutions are already separately licensed and are subject to separate discipline in cases of malfeasance. As the Senate may understand, I think these statutes came online several years ago as a way of beginning to address some of the abuses that we were seeing in consumer services associated with debt consolidation plans. Attorneys were exempted by statute to begin with. Simply now we're adding banking institutions, saving institutions, credit unions who are already licensed and separately regulated from the ambit of these particular regulations. And let me apologize, as you can hear, I'm struggling with a cold, so the Claritin is not kicked in.
All righty. I think we understand the bill. Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none, been moved and, do I hear a second? Did I hear a second? Okay, there's somebody seconded. Okay. House Bill 2284 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill's reported.
Thank you.
You have another one, Delegate Heretic.
1798.
Okay.
This is what I would describe as a Virginia jobs bill. As members of the Senate, as you understand, Virginia has lost a significant number of call center jobs over the past several years, and virtually no corner of the Commonwealth has been spared from that. We have lost, frankly, nearly 1,000 call center jobs in the past 24 months, and these are substantial jobs which pay on average of north of $35,000 a year. They are fairly stable jobs. Just to give a few statistics before I launch into this, in March of 18, Danville lost over 300 call center jobs. In December of 17, Emporia lost over 100. In June of 2016, Tyson's lost over 500. In June of 16, Hampton lost nearly 400. July of 15, Bristol lost nearly 140. In December of 14, Roanoke lost 125, and I think we can agree that these are corners of the Commonwealth and communities that can ill afford to lose these types of jobs. What House Bill 1798 would simply do would be to require, where feasible, beginning in state contracts issued on or after July the 1st of this year, for agencies of the Commonwealth who basically hire and contract with call centers to provide services for our constituents, to use in-state call centers as their primary source of that service. Now, this would not affect existing contracts. I've seen from the economic impact statement that basically the world would have to stop spinning in its orbit if this were enacted. But this would not touch or affect currently existing contracts. It would not limit the Commonwealth from using secondary or overflow call centers in other states or even other countries. But I think as a common sense matter, Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate, that Virginia jobs need to be in Virginia. And if our taxpayers are paying for these services, which they certainly are, it seems to me that the voice they hear at the other end of the phone and the information they receive at the other end of a call should be other citizens of Virginia. The income from these jobs would certainly do much better in our own communities than they might in the Western United States or in the good people of foreign countries. Nothing against them, but Mr. Chairman, respectfully, I suggest that our tax money belongs in Virginia to the extent possible. I have reviewed the economic impact analysis. I will tell you that I have a number of questions about the representations that have been made, but I recognize that the committee will likely have questions both for me and the proponents and opponents of the bill, so I would yield.
Absolutely. Are there questions for the patron?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Senator Dance.
my question is just that, how do you answer for this fiscal impact? When you're saying what the benefits could possibly be, but the fiscal impact is showing what we would be losing in millions.
Well, Senator, Mr. Chairman, I would say to the Senator that the fiscal impact statement that I have actually has no quantified financial loss. They are predicting potential loss, but they haven't quantified any of it. Frankly, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that, as the contracting process progresses and the few state agencies that do use out-of-state contractors are renegotiating these contracts, we don't know if there's going to be any loss. And I would point to the fiscal impact statement that I've received that contains no numbers.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I wish I could say that when I have an impact statement and you all would buy that. That sounds pretty good. I'm going to market that.
Yeah. Senator Dance, you know how tight money is and that kind of thing. Are there any other questions? Okay, do you have people who wish to speak in favor of the bill?
I believe I do, Mr. Chairman.
All right, briefly, we have a long docket. I'm going to put you on a timer.
Afternoon, Chairman. Carrie Ross with the Communication Workers of America, Virginia State Council. We support the bill. We think jobs ought to stay here in the state.
Okay, thank you. Are there others? Wow, are there those who wish to speak against the bill?
Mr. Chairman, I'm Doug Gray, Executive Director of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. We have 5 plans who contract with the Commonwealth for the Medicaid Managed Care Program, both Medallion and the LTSS program, and now the expansion program. Some of our members have their call centers located in other states for efficiency purposes. They find it best to organize in that way. It is true, and the patron has assured me that the existing contract would not be affected. But when it comes up for renewal, they would have to figure out how to address
Mr. Chairman,
the concern to move it here, which I think would create a new cost.
Yes, Senator Overton.
I don't want to cut off Mr. Gray's eloquent statement, but what we're talking about is privatizing certain functions, and what drives me crazy is when we say we want to privatize, but we require that the private sector act just like the government. It squeezes out any capacity to realize any efficiencies from privatization. Moreover, the gentlelady from Petersburg makes great points that raise serious concerns. I appreciate what the delegate is trying to do. However, we could have done the same thing by prohibiting the phone companies from getting rid of switchboard operators. So with that, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully
suggest that we should pass this bill by indefinitely.
Okay, it's been, motion to pass by, properly supported. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
1 out of 2 ain't bad up here. Okay.
No,
All right,
no,
thanks.
6 nays.
Okay, that bill's been passed by. I'll go back to the sign-up list. Let me just go, let me see. If you are Delegate Ransom, Yancey, Sullivan, or Quinn, you got to stay. Hugo, you can go. Thomas, you can go. I recommend the patrons come up here and check. We have acted on bills that are identical. Delegate Keem, you need to stay. Yeah, I saw one, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Delegate Robinson, you're first on the list, and your bill, you're not here. Yeah. Okay, all right. Delegate, go ahead. You're up here. Fire away.
Delegate, Senator, I think this bill that I have, you are pretty familiar with.
Which bill is it?
It is HB 2738.
Okay.
And that is the bill that allows public utilities providing water, sewer, electric, and natural gas services to file a plan with the SEC to acquire right-of-way and perform other preliminary work to serve.
Which bill number is that?
2738.
That's already been reported and out of here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So you all voted on it before Sproul got here?
We took good
Awesome.
care of you. But
What
you
about
do have
2230?
2230.
I'm up on that one?
You're up on that one. Fire away.
Awesome.
You just saw what happened to Delegate Heretic. You get 1 out of 2 today, so, but, all right,
man.
all right. Go ahead.
HB 2230, this bill comes at the request of the SEC. The bill amends 2 codes to provide the definition of adverse action involving the use of consumers' credit scores in the rating and underwriting of homeowners and private passenger automobile policies. The change to the definition of adverse action is a result of a recent federal case, and it is the interpretation of the definition. The bill matches the Virginia Code's definition to the federal case law and provisions of the Federal Credit Reporting Act.
Thank you, Delegate Bagby. Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? See, been moved and seconded that House Bill 2230 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. It's your day, Delegate Bagby.
13 ayes, 0
2
nays.
for 2 today. Excellent. All right. Delegate Kilgore.
What's going on?
You jumped up awfully quick. Okay.
I got it real quick.
All right.
I don't know, you may have reported some of these. All mine are identical, I think.
Except for 2747, I have a similar. We have not reported that one.
Well, just conform it to yours then.
Conform it to ours?
Is that the Southwest Virginia Energy Research Development Authority? Yeah, just conform it to whatever. Yeah, it's the same as Jennifer Chafin's bill, yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait, hang on a minute.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, no, you got a bunch of bills. You're not going anywhere. Okay.
I was trying.
Oh, yeah. You want to conform it?
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll take it.
No, I don't know. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What we're doing is you have 4 members, we're raising the Senate to 4 members.
Oh, we can work it out later on.
All right, is there a motion on that amendment?
Mr. Chairman,
parity?
we can work it out to be even.
We can work it
Well,
out.
that's what the amendment does, is to make
I
it even.
just say that is the work.
Is there a motion on that amendment?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that amendment,
4 senators to be
that
on.
parity amendment be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, that amendment's adopted. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay, Delegate Kilgore, that's 2747.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
That's bills reported. 2477.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if y'all had one like this or not, but this is a bill that would apply only to Phase 1 utility, Appalachian Power. It deals with shopping, and this was an agreement we worked out in the House. I'm not sure if y'all had the same.
We didn't have this legislation. It's
Okay.
new to us.
So basically, there are certain big companies and bigger energy users who want to shop for electricity, but at the same token, if they leave your incumbent utility like Appalachian Power, then it causes some problems as it relates to Appalachian Power being able to invest. So what this bill does is sets up a way where that people can come in and go out of the market and not disrupt the whole system. There was an agreement. We had all the folks in AEP, others, all the folks that wanted to shop in the room, and this is the agreement that we worked out. I think we had some people here.
Let's find out. Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Apparently you have white smoke.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded, 2477 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay, that bill's
15 ayes, 0
reported.
nays.
That bill's reported. 2478.
2478 is the Virginia Stock Corporation Act. This is the big bill that updated and modernized the whole Stock Corporation Act. It's a 200 page bill, Mr. Chairman, and it was worked out with a lot of provisions of the Model Business Corporation Act, which was produced by the American Bar Association Business Law Section, and then our Business Law Section here in Virginia worked on it and went through it and made sure that everything was okay. And this is something that they do periodically, and this is simply the update.
I got a question for you on
Sure.
line 4108. Are you?
I'm sure there is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And-
Yes, sir. Would you like to
Yes, this
make a
is-
few comments?
Yeah, he's the one that.
Is this your
worked on
handiwork,
this.
sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Alan Goolsby. We've been following the Model Act in Virginia since 1957, and the last major revision was in '83. We were the first state to adopt it. There's another revision in 2016, and this is essentially a working group of Virginia corporate lawyers that have come together to essentially bring what we think is appropriate out of the latest revision into the Virginia Code.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Gould?
There is a note that there is from the clerk's office, a $250,000 corporation commission fee on it. So there was a question, I think Frank said, of does it need to go to finance or not? Mr. Peck and I can work it out, but whatever.
It's not on the list, is it? I don't see it on the list.
Yeah, I did too.
2478. Okay, it is on the list.
Okay.
Okay, so the appropriate motion would be to report and re-refer to finance. Is there such a motion? It's been moved and seconded that 2478 be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
That's good to know. I get to present this bill on the Senate floor. Thank you, Senator Stewart. Okay.
Yes. Make sure you get 40 copies.
Okay, I have one last bill. I think that's 2690. Delegate Kilgore.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was put in at the request of the Bureau of Financial Institution. It basically transitioned the licensings of money transmitters to the nationwide multi-state licensing system, which is a web-based licensing system, and it allows, it's a platform that's going to improve coordination and information sharing among regulators. It increases efficiency for industry. So basically, you can go to one spot, and it gets to all the places that you want it to, all the states that you want to apply to, then you can work through this system. And it's going to allow our Bureau of Financial Institutions with access to more comprehensive and up-to-date information on the licensee management structure, contracts, ownerships, transaction activities in the state, and products and services offered. And this, like I say, is a Bureau of Financial Institutions bill.
Okay, so
Mr.
SEC bill, is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none, is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded, 2690 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay, Delegate Kilgore.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's move down the list here. Who we got out there? We got everybody. I'll go to the list. Delegate Robinson. Oh, Delegate Sullivan's downstairs. Delegate O'Quinn. We'll keep this fair. Delegate Murphy. Delegate Bell. Oh, Delegate Murphy.
Would you say that a little louder?
Delegate Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You have House Bill 2022.
Yes. This is a bill that was put out to address injustices that occur when insurance companies accept and pay workers' comp. And the worker believes that since their claim is accepted and paid, they don't have to take additional action, which wasn't true, by the way. And so representatives of both the Insurance Defense Bar and the Claimants Bar met, and they were coordinated by the Workers' Comp Commission, and both sides agreed on the substitute bill, which we passed in the House. This compromise lets insurance companies pay workers for 6 months without any change in the statute of limitations. I have John Hurd here to speak in support of the bill. It's a really good bill. They said there was no fiscal impact over in the House, so I'm hoping that stays true over here.
Well, I can tell you, Delegate Murphy, it's not going to stay true here because I got a hook here to go to Finance. So you've done such a wonderful job presenting. You're going to get a second chance in front of the Finance Committee. But is there anyone in support of the legislation?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. John Hurd with Virginia Self-Insurers Association and Metis Holdings, Inc. She's correct. There were 3 attorneys from both sides of the bar that worked on this language, and we can certainly live with the language. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, the appropriate motion will be report and re-refer to Finance. It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2022 be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thank
See
you,
in
sir.
Finance. Okay.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. Delegate O'Quinn, Delegate Head, Delegate Marshall. What you got, Danny?
House Bill 1836. And so, Frank,
1836.
there was I got Frank to make an amendment, but we're not going to use that amendment. So we have another amendment, if we could.
Mr. Chairman, the amendment is on line 14 of the bill. After 60 days, insert initiate and.
Okay. What does that do to your bill?
And so that amendment is brought to you by the Farm Bureau, and what they wanted to do is to initiate and.
Well said.
All right, so a lot of bills come with a story. This is one of those story bills, and let me give you the story. So the constituent came and was going to buy a property casualty on a building, and the insurance company wanted to insure the building for $150,000. The person just had the building with a appraisal, and it was appraised at $75,000. So they agreed upon $100,000 for the value of the building. This gentleman was paying his bills quarterly. He paid the first one on time, the second quarterly on time, the third quarterly on time. 10 days before the fourth quarter was due, he got a bill from the insurance company that says, we are raising the rate to $150,000, either pay it or we cancel it. And so what this bill basically does, it says if you're paying on time and you're doing everything on time, then you have the 12-month period to, they cannot do this until the end of the term.
Okay, the questions for the patron. Is anyone opposed to this legislation? It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 1836, as amended by the Second Amendment, be reported. All those in favor, or clerk, open the rolls. Okay,
12 ayes, 0 nays.
that bill's reported.
All right, and let's go to House Bill 2251. This bill is brought by the State Corporation Commission, Joe Face's group. And what this bill will do is amend the Virginia Code to conform with the new temporary mortgage loan originators authority in Section 106 of the recently passed federal legislation. These amendments make it easier for qualified bank mortgage loan originators and out-of-state mortgage loan originators to transition between mortgage companies and the state regulatory agencies by providing them with a temporary authority to originate residential mortgage loan. So that's basically what the bill does.
Okay. All righty. Is there any questions of the patron? Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none, committee operates. It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2251 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Delegate Marshall.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All righty. Delegate Weibert. What do you have for us today? House Bill 2272.
Yes, sir. House Bill 2272 is the establishment of a protected series by a limited liability company, essentially known as Series LLC. The Series LLC is the newest form of business organization. It was first established in Delaware in 1996. There are 16 other U.S. jurisdictions that now provide for Series LLC. Hopefully Virginia will be the 17th. A Series LLC is an organization with divisions, funds, portfolios, or cells, or series, each of which have separate members, managers, assets, and liabilities, and business purpose or investment objective, which are known as, again, the protected series. The principal distinguishing characteristic of a Series LLC is the internal liability shield for each protected series. Claims against any one protected series may not be asserted against the assets of the LLC or any other protected series. Those requirements include a public filing and record keeping and are there to protect the creditors. The concept originated in the mutual fund industry, which permits less burdensome and expensive registration under the Investment Company Act of 1940. Although a Series LLC may not be appropriate for every business, it can be beneficial to others. Among the uses of a Series LLC are to segregate multiple real estate properties, provide incentive compensation by division rather than the entire legal entity, hold a single license rather than multiple ones for each division, as well as franchise operations. This bill is based upon the Uniform Protected Series Act, which came out of the Uniform Law Commission, and which covers many of the issues that were not addressed at all in many other Series LLCs. One of the reasons we'd like to adopt this is it permits a form of business organization for appropriate businesses without making it necessary to form an LLC, such as doing businesses with like Delaware and Illinois that call up and say, hey, I'd like this series to do business in the Commonwealth, and they can pay a fee and do business rather than having to form a new LLC in the Commonwealth.
Okay. There are questions for the patron? I see you have a supporter here.
I have an expert, sir.
Okay.
For sure. Mr. Needler.
I think the committee doesn't have any questions, but Mr. Needler, if you'd like to add anything to it. A lot of times that's the best way to go. So,
yes, sir.
All right.
Chairman of the other Commerce and Labor said the same thing.
Yeah. Are there any questions? No questions? Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Seeing none, the committee operates by motion. You have an amendment? Yeah, and the proper motion would be to report and re-refer to finance. Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls. You did such a great job, Delegate Ware, but we'll hear you in Finance too.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
14
Thank
ayes,
you.
0 nays.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several measures, and if you be so
Let's
kind, I'd
start
like to
with
start.
2538 because that's sort of similar.
2538, sir?
Yes.
All right. 2538 is a communications bill, and it essentially would require that a medical facility where someone receives scheduled elective services be informed at the time of pre-admission or pre-registration on a couple of things. It requires the facility to inform the insured of the names of the provider groups providing health care at the facility. The consultation with the managed care plan is recommended to see if the coverage is in-network or out-of-network, and also that he may be responsible if it is not an in-network provider, in addition to any cost-sharing requirements. That's in sum.
Delegate Ware, we passed a similar bill out. As Chrissy or Frank could tell us what the differences is between the bill we passed and the bill Delegate Ware's brought us.
Mr. Chairman, we had Senator Sturdivant's Senate Bill 1763, which included provisions dealing with emergency services and balance billing in those situations. Right. Then it also included this portion. So this bill includes language that is part of which was in Senator Sturdivant's bill. Okay. But with respect to those two parts dealing with elective services, they're the same.
Okay, so you have a bill only dealing with normal hospital visits, non-emergency visits.
That's right. The other one that I had had a visit upstairs, not to Finance, but to House Appropriations, and somehow didn't see its way out. But this one did.
Did find its way out. Well, we have one bite at the apple. I think since we sent a bill over there that's a complete package, I'd be at a frame of mind that we probably ought to send this one clean, unless the committee has any different suggestions on it. There are people here to support it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Doug Gray on behalf of the Virginia Association of Health Plans. This is dealing with elective situations, and I think it would be appropriate to go forward with this. I would say that this is a baby step. I mean, what this does is require a general disclosure, a caveat emptor, so to speak, to the patient. It doesn't mean the patient is going to recognize nor inquire of the health plan. So this is a first step. Depending on how it's handled and how things go, we may have to come back and have a further conversation. But it's a baby step in the right direction, and it is separate from the controversial things in the other bill, and I think it'd be appropriate to move it forward.
Understand. Yes, Scott.
Mr. Chairman, Scott Johnson, we too support it and ask you to advance it as it is.
Give me a heart attack, okay? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Jill Hankin from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. I also think this bill has merit in its own right as a baby step in the right direction. Thank you.
Well, I think we're into baby steps. Okay, it's been a motion to report. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded that House Bill 2538 be reported. No, we're not going to conform because the other bill has everything in it, and yeah, we'll let the other one that's over in the House. We'll see how it survives, and but I think we better take what we got now and go with it. All right. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
14 ayes, 0 nays. That bill's been reported. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to bring people together.
Well, I think you got another one that might cause a few problems, but go on.
You never know. It's
never
always
know.
interesting down here.
Yes.
House Bill 1682 has to do with dental services, and this, like the foregoing one, is one that's to bring on communication. I believe there is a substitute version of this that you may want to.
Okay, is there a motion on substitute? Been moved and seconded to substitute to House Bill 1682 be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the substitute's before us. Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the adoption of the substitute, it would require notification of dentists and implicitly their patients in the event that by contract a preferred provider organization sells or rents its provider network to a silent PPO. The legislation requires that in that circumstance, the dentist must be notified and the fee schedule continue to be abided by. And then the dentists and insurers have discussed this. Representatives of both groups have spoken in favor of this bill in the House, and I'd ask that you consider favor.
Thank you. You got everybody up interested in your substitute. Mr. Johnson, you have something?
Sure.
for us?
Scott Johnson on behalf of the Dental Association. I want to thank the patron and also the health plans for working with us on this, and we support the bill as it is.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Doug Gray, on behalf of the health plans, I want to basically associate myself with this comment.
Get out of here,
Thank you to the sponsor and
My coronary's right around the corner. Okay. All
Lord
right.
Jesus, Doug, bless your heart.
All right. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, committee operates by motion. Been moved and seconded. The amendment, nature substitute to House Bill 1682 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thirteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay. Delegate Ware, you have a third bill.
I do indeed, and I'm going to ask Doug Gray to come up and join me on this one. Not, of course, to engender a heart attack, but simply he seems to be influential here. This is House Bill 1718, and let me just say a little bit about why I brought it, what I believe that it does, and then there may be some folks who would want to speak to it one way or another, possibly.
I think there might be. Okay.
It is intended to help protect Virginia's utility ratepayers from having to pay for natural gas pipeline capacity contracts that are not necessary to provide them service. I support the use of natural gas and the construction of the pipelines necessary to transport the fuel, the infrastructure which allows Virginia consumers to benefit from the marvels of modern fracking. But what I don't want to do is to have ratepayers paying for speculative natural gas pipelines. They should pay for what serves them. An electric utility's natural gas fuel costs consist of two principal components. The first is the cost of natural gas pipeline capacity needed to transport the fuel. A utility will typically obtain that capacity through a contract with a natural gas pipeline owner. The second is the cost of the natural gas fuel purchased by the utility. What my bill specifies is what facts the utility has to prove when it seeks recovery of a natural gas pipeline capacity contract. These facts would demonstrate that the utility took the appropriate action to ensure reasonable fuel costs as is currently required, and would direct the utility to prove at the time the utility signed the contract that it had identified and determined the date and amount of new fueling resource it needs, objectively studied available alternative options, and determined that the pipeline was the lowest cost available option. Essentially, my bill would protect ratepayers from having to pay for natural gas pipeline capacity contracts that don't benefit them. They can be multi-billion-dollar and multi-decade contracts.
Senator Saslow.
Questions. I mean, do you know whether any of the utilities here have built speculative pipelines?
I do not know that,
You know,
Senator.
was this bill requested by the SEC or?
It was not requested by the SEC, much as some of the bills from last year weren't, to my knowledge, were not requested by the SEC.
So you don't know of any speculative pipeline?
I do
Just
not.
curious, that's all.
I do not.
Okay. All right.
Well, I just want to make a comment since we're here. I think we got a good understanding, but if you want to continue, please, and then we'll save comments.
Okay.
Please.
I've basically covered the key points that I wanted to make, other than to say that this has a very wide-ranging group of supporters from one side to the other of the political spectrum. You may hear from some of them, depending on what your hearing allows. And
Okay. We will hear, and I'm going to put it on the timer. Let's hear from the proponents of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jim Presswood, and I'm presenting this testimony on behalf of the Freedom Works, the Virginia Tea Party Patriots Federation, and my organization, Earth Stewardship Alliance. And our organizations urge the committee to support Chairman Ware's bill. The bill helps protect captive Virginia ratepayers from having to pay for natural gas pipeline capacity contracts that aren't needed to serve them. And the most prominent contract, of course, is the one the Dominion signed for the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. And according to the evidence that has been received by the SEC, and they found last fuel factor proceeding last year that Dominion's utility pipeline capacity portfolio is already reasonably sized for the size of its generation fleet. And the pipeline would also serve only two of Virginia's Dominion's natural gas fired power plants that are baseload, the Brunswick and the Greenville facilities. And both these plants are already connected to the existing pipelines. And but you know, the thing is, we strongly support natural gas use as well as the construction of pipelines. What we don't want, however, is the utilities to be building pipelines that aren't needed. And what Delegate Ware's bill does, it helps ensure that that doesn't occur.
So are you suggesting that the only user of this pipeline would be Dominion in a generation of electricity? Is that what you're stating there? Sounded to me like it.
So with this pipeline would obviously be for more than just Dominion. But the bill is addressing just electric utilities and just ensuring that when the SEC reviews a capacity contract, that it reviews it and makes certain evidentiary findings. And it's my understanding from Chairman Ware's response back from the SEC that they have yet to deny a capacity contract that has been presented to them. So all this does, it just establishes some evidentiary requirements that have to be found. It doesn't change any of the criteria that are applied.
It does a lot more than that, but okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, I didn't start the timer, but, oh yeah, I did. Okay, you used up most of the time. and I think
Sorry.
there's other
Thank you so
people that
much.
wanna speak
Appreciate
to
your
it.
support
Thank
for the
you.
bill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senators. Sam Towle, Deputy Attorney General for Civil Litigation here on behalf of Consumer Counsel. I'd like to thank the patron for bringing the bill. The office does support this legislation as a way to provide some framework for the State Corporation Commission when the Office of Consumer Counsel has cases before it in a fuel factor case.
And
Thank you.
sir, if I could ask just a couple of questions to you.
Of course, Mr. Chairman.
During this recent little polar vortex, I understand that the spot price that my constituents would pay for natural gas went up to almost $54 a decatherm simply because we were relying on one pipeline and had no access to the Marcellus. Would you disagree with that?
Sir, I believe the spot price is related to a number of different factors, some dealing with capacity.
Would you disagree with the fact that if we had access to the Marcellus shale, which was at the same time going for $2.40 a decatherm, that my ratepayers paid to $54 a decatherm during that? Would you disagree with that comment?
Mr. Chairman, I think it depends on which ratepayers you're talking about, because of course industrials in times of the polar vortex end up not paying the same, having access to the same level of capacity as residential ratepayers would.
So you wouldn't deny that? What would be the effect? Let me ask you one more question. What would be the effect if the Transco pipeline shut down now? What would be the effect on electrical generation?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I believe that if the Transco pipeline was shut down, there are other alternative methods. I don't believe this has anything to do specifically with Delegate Ware's piece of legislation, which is really just to address the standard of review before the State Corporation Commission before new gas capacity comes online.
Okay. All right, I'm going to put the timer back on.
Thank you,
So
Mr.
we're out of
Mr. Chairman.
time, but please, ma'am, if you,
Mr. Chairman?
yeah, Senator
Just
McDougal.
Before you, that last comment, as I read line 81, we're talking about the time when this is presented, not the standard of review. So we picked a spot in time that all the new provisions would have to be applied. So saying it just impacts the standard of review is not accurate, correct?
Mr. Senator, the way that the bill would work is designed is when the company comes forward to seek recovery from ratepayers, like in any other prudence review, the utility seeks recovery of costs already incurred. This is very much in keeping with that traditional rate-making process.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McDougal.
But that's not the language of the bill. The language of the bill does not talk about when they come forward for a case. It says that it's all based on when a contract was executed, regardless of when they come forward to a case. So we pick a time and place and then can't review anything else but what happened at that one point in time. Is that not accurate, the way the wording of the bill is?
Right, Senator, because
Thank you.
that is the way the prudence works, is at the time the contract was entered into, was it entered into prudently? Yes, sir.
Yeah, hang on,
Sam?
you're not done, you're
Oh,
up
I'm
here.
sorry.
Senator
Hang on a
Overshain
second.
has a question, and I have a few for you.
Sam, good to have you here. We had some questions earlier in session about impact on the ratepayers of some amendments that were offered on the coal ash bill, especially the amendments dealing with whether the Attorney General representing the ratepayers felt like allowing profit on that was in the interest of ratepayers. I know you all weren't able to answer that. Appreciate your being here today. My question is, this is obviously related to the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Can you tell us whether the Attorney General supports or opposes the Atlantic Coast Pipeline?
On a topic as broad as that from Consumer Counsel, I would not feel comfortable expressing opinion one way or the other on that.
Well, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm asking for his position.
And that's why I wouldn't feel comfortable saying exactly what his position would be on the pipeline more broadly. We generally speak through our cases in those circumstances.
Okay, but would you agree with me that under 5680, the State Corporation Commission continues to retain supervisor control of contracts such as fuel capacity even for the Atlantic Coast Pipeline? Would you agree with me on that under the current code provisions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would agree that the State Corporation Commission does still have a role to play under existing law. That's correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Time's up, but you've been waiting a long time, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Senator Sproul.
I know time is up, but you took most of the time. You got to give her time.
No. I stopped the clock, but the first gentleman took most of the time, but I let this young lady speak. Yes, no, she's got the time, Senator Sproul.
Mr. Chairman.
That's why I invited her up here.
Members of the committee, Dana Wiggins with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. We thank the delegate for bringing this bill. We actually think it should be slightly more broad, but we do believe in protecting consumers, and we think this is complementary with the existing statute to help with a further protection of consumers, and we hope you'll find it favorably to vote on this bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, are there those opposed to the legislation?
Mr. Chairman, John Rust on behalf of Dominion. This bill substantially restricts the ability of the State Corporation Commission and how it looks at capacity contracts. It's not a bill the State Corporation Commission requested. It doesn't need this bill to review those capacity contracts. It has that authority under 5680, as the chairman had said earlier. The bill severely limits the way in which the commission looks at this. It limits it to 3 items: the need for natural gas, the available alternative fuels available, and whether the natural gas is the lowest cost fuel. In fact, the State Corporation Commission looks at more than that. The State Corporation Commission also looks at fuel diversity. The State Corporation Commission also looks at whether or not there is reliability in the system. In Virginia today, 90% of Dominion's winter gas comes through a single pipeline, through the Transco pipeline. That's what feeds Brunswick, that's what feeds Greensville, that's what feeds Hampton Roads at this point. There is no capacity left in that pipeline. We end up with interruptions of service in the industries in Hampton Roads all the time. The reliability of that system is one of the things that the commission would look at in looking at the capacity contract that we are talking about in this system. If this bill passes, they would not have the ability to look at that. Second, the commission looks at these recoveries when the fuel actually starts flowing. It doesn't look at it 4 years ago when the contract was entered into. It looks at what the gas is going to cost when it's coming out of the pipe. At line 81, this takes you back to the time that the contract was signed. Things change from that point. The cost of the pipeline, as we all know, has changed since 2015. The alternative fuels that are available have changed since 2015. The commission needs not to be frozen in place in terms of looking 4 years ago. It needs to look at what the costs actually are that they're working through. I think finally the bill removes all discretion from the commission. If you will look at line 89, if the
utility is unable to meet the three requirements that are in the bill, the commission is required to deny recovery from the pipeline. There's no appeal, there's no alternative on that. And if you'll look at the way in which this bill is set up, at line 79 and line 80, there's only one time you can have that review. You come in for review your first time. If you're denied at that point, you never have an opportunity to come back and recover under the pipeline. The commission has adequate jurisdiction, adequate ability under the existing code. It doesn't need the restriction that's here, nor does Virginia's ratepayers.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
All right. To be fair, I did the same thing, just very briefly.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Keith Martin with the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We're concerned about how this bill will impact access and affordability of our energy resources, so we oppose the bill.
Thank you. All right, Lee, if you want to wrap up.
Two things. Number one, you did not hear what some people have suggested, that this would stop the pipeline. I do not intend for it to stop. I would also note, talking about the limitations on the commission's authority on lines 89 and 90, nothing in this subdivision shall limit the commission's discretion to review and make a determination as to the reasonableness of recovery by utility of costs. So there's not that restriction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you've been very generous with your time.
I think it's important, but I think that my concerns are multifold. First of all, under the existing pipeline system that we have right now, Norfolk Naval Base was shut down, and I'm not at liberty to tell you how many times last year it was shut down, but it was shut down significantly to the point in time where it's a major concern with the BRAC facing us in the thing. There are areas in my neck of the woods, Chesapeake, the city of Suffolk, whose mayor reported they lost $2 billion of economic development simply because they don't have natural gas there. And we'll never get natural gas in Suffolk unless this pipeline is built. Same for most of Chesapeake, same for James City County, same for Gloucester. There's insufficient gas. There is a major environmental, international rule coming through requiring ships to clean up their emissions. And natural gas ships are becoming, powered ships are becoming much more prevalent within the fleet. There's an initiative in my area to liquefy natural gas, not for export and bunkering, but simply to have bunkering fuel to be able to refuel the ships that call on the Port of Hampton Roads. We don't have the gas to support that. When we talk about this being a major economic development tool, there are a lot of users on there that rely on that. And right now, the ratepayers picked up a significant cost and will continue to pick up a significant cost due to the spot price of natural gas going through the overtime every time there's a shortage, every time there's a compressor breakdown, every time there's some restriction or some problem with the Transco pipeline, the spot price of natural gas goes up. And as we all know, natural gas or fuel costs are direct pass-through with no markup to the customer. With this pipeline, we'll have access to a very reliable new source of natural gas that, quite frankly, is significantly cheaper than the existing gas that's available in the Transco pipeline, and open up that access and may, in the long run, actually provide for lower electric rates based on the fact that fuel prices are a pass-through. So with that, the committee operates by motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McDougal.
I have the concerns that I expressed about particularly the limitation of the time frame when the review can occur, and that it's really retroactive in time, and we want to be encouraging the forward thinking and preparation for energy and creativity. But maybe this is something the Electric Utility Committee, Regulatory Committee should look at in concept and see if there's any part of this that might need to be reviewed for the future. So my motion would be to pass it by indefinitely, but send it to that committee to see if there's any part of this that need to be looked at in the future.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely, and I will write a letter to the Electric Utility Restructuring Committee to ask them to look over the bill and report back to us. Clerk, open the rolls.
10 ayes, 3 nays.
Thank you, Delegate Ware. I
Thank you, Mr.
appreciate
Chairman,
it.
members.
Two out of three.
Not bad. Next time I'll get Doug to come up for that.
Okay. Let's see, Delegate Keem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I understand that I had two bills in front of you, House Bill 1925, which I believe Mr. Munyon had already taken care of, so that one's done.
Yes.
House Bill 1883 is in front of you, Mr. Chairman.
Right.
And for the record, Doug Gray doesn't have a position on this bill, so.
Doug Gray does not have it.
Yeah.
It wasn't Doug Gray that gave me the heart attack. It was the fact that Doug Gray and Scott Johnson were up there holding each other's hands. That gave
That
me
would
a near
always give me a heart
that
attack.
gave me a near coronary.
That's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is a product that came out of the Virginia Commission on Youth, which I have the honor of serving on. And the commission studied this issue last year. The overall issue is about foster care and how do we help our children who are in the foster care system. And then as they age out and they move into society, how do we make sure that we provide them with all the tools they need? And as part of that, in a comprehensive way, this is one of many, many suggestions that came out of that commission. This is a commission suggestion that says when they are looking to get driver's licenses, which helps them with so many different aspects, in addition to transportation, just identification itself is helpful for employment and such. There are times that we've seen where the ability to get driver's licenses depends on the ability to get insurance for the automobile. And just for the record, we have not found any evidence yet in Virginia that this is a problem. So we're not saying anything about the insurance industry. In fact, they work with us to draft this, or at least give us good comments so that the language that we have is certainly okay by the insurance industry. So we're not saying that the insurance industry is doing anything wrong. What we're saying is, to the extent that we have in our code about 20 different categories of issues that insurance industry should not use to either issue or to renew licenses, we should add the foster care status as one of them. So it's just a way for us to say, this is a way for us as a policy to promote foster care youth getting licenses as well as being able to be independent and autonomous in society.
Okay, are there questions for the patron? Is there anyone opposed to this legislation? Been moved and seconded that House Bill 1883 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Keem.
12 ayes, 0 nays.
All right. Who we got out there? Delegate Head.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You have 1661, and it's similar to a bill we've passed out of here, but go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe there is a
Substitute. Is there a motion on the substitute? Been moved and seconded, substitute 1661 be adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the substitute's before us. Delegate Head.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the substitute, and Mr. Bunyan may be able to address that easier than I don't think
Yes, I was
anything
gonna say.
changes aside from where it is.
Right, Mr. Chairman, the bill that Delegate Head prepared deals with the Farm Bureau being the sponsoring association for association health plans. What the substitute does is simply move the language from Title 59.1, where it was put in the introduced bill, into Title 3.2, which is agriculture, which follows what we did in the past, where the bankers have their bona fide association plans. They're in 6.2, and the education associations are in 23.1. So that's the reason for the substitute.
Okay. All right. So this gives the farmers the opportunity for association health care plans.
Create a meanwhile, yes, sir.
As the committee understand, it's a shame we got to do it segment by segment, can't do it all at once, but I understand. Been moved and seconded. I think the Farm Bureau wants to briefly talk about it. Is there, the commission? You're good?
Yeah, we support it.
We're on a roll. We're on a roll. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jill Hankin from the Virginia Poverty Law Center. We do not support this bill.
Okay.
We have concerns about these association plans taking insured lives out of the individual marketplace and therefore leading to higher premiums on the private insurance market. And we also have concerns, as the impact statement notes, that these plans would be exempted from many insurance laws of the Commonwealth, including taxes that are currently levied on insurance companies. They'd be exempt from regulations such as those that currently apply to premium rates, policy cancellations, and non-renewals. I mean, there are already association plans in the Commonwealth, but we oppose expanding access to them.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Senator McDougal.
Did y'all oppose the expansion of the Medicaid expansion group, which took lives out of that same pool as well?
No, we did not.
Okay, so we're picking what, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Senator McDougal.
So it's okay to pick some people to go out of that group, but not other people?
Well, the Medicaid expansion was for low-income individuals under 138% of the poverty line, and a lot of farmers are now benefiting because of Medicaid expansion. So for higher income populations that are now left with the private marketplace, this would draw more people out.
Okay, thank you. I think we understand. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sarah Baylog with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. We oppose the legislation, and I have a letter here from ourselves and 5 other organizations if y'all would be interested in a copy. Just briefly, two main things. On behalf of the cancer patients and the families and their families that we represent, the main concern that we have is that anyone with a pre-existing condition would essentially be excluded from getting covered by these plans, or if they were covered, it would be at such an expensive rate that it would essentially be a non-starter. The outcry that we've seen nationwide over people who identify as someone as having a pre-existing condition, if you look at the Tennessee Farm Bureau plan application, which Tennessee has had these plans for almost 2 decades, it asks, during the past 7 years, have you or any dependent for whom you are applying received medical advice or treatment for, been medically diagnosed with, or experienced symptoms of any of the following conditions or diseases? And then it lists 67 conditions and diseases. So that excludes a lot of the population. And further, none of us knows when we'll get sick. Blood cancer has no known prevention strategy. It strikes without warning. And there are, in most cases, few treatments. So even if you think you're healthy and you elect to get one of these plans, you never know what situation you'll find yourself in. So we just encourage the committee to slow down, think about what this bill's effect would have on the commercial market in the state, and oppose the language. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Brian Donahue with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, and we also oppose the bill.
Thank you. Okay.
You want to address any of that?
Why don't you come on up and...
Mr. Chairman, Martha Moore, Virginia Farm Bureau. Our members, while I can appreciate some of the comments that have been made, I think the difference is that we are trying to go after a gap in the population that they have no insurance. So at this point in time, they can't pay for any of these things because they can't afford any of the insurance. And so therefore, what we're trying to do is at least get some type of coverage for these folks that don't qualify for other things. And it's a very narrow pool. We're talking about small groups. We're not talking about individual coverage. And so the choice right now is they have no coverage or they get some coverage.
Thank you. All right, Delegate Head, I think we understand what the bill says. Not sure we need a wrap-up, but we have a substitute before us. It's been adopted. Been moved and seconded that the substitute be reported and re-referred to the Committee of Finance would be the appropriate motion. Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the roll.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Delegate O'Quinn, you have House Bill 225, and you've been at the top of my call-up list, but you weren't here, so you moved to the bottom. But
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're back.
I think I had 3 total, and I know you've taken, I think, one of them for sure, but I'm not sure about.
Did we conform 2109 and send it out of here? We did. So 2109 is taken care of.
2298 was the.
I think the
bank
last thing we
boards.
have in front of you is 2225.
Okay.
I think the rest of them we dealt with.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
All
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
fire away.
Okay. So House Bill 2225 relates to the code section on protection of aged or incapacitated adults and goes on line 54 to financial institution staff who are not mandated reporters but may report. And the problem that we've run into is they report, and then they aren't allowed to actually provide any, or there's no immunity if they provide supporting documentation. So the only addition to this bill simply says, and provide supporting information and records. And that's to the local law enforcement entity of the county or city.
Okay.
So it would simply aid in those investigations.
I think we understand. Are there questions for the patron? Does anyone oppose this legislation? Seeing nothing. It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2225 be reported. Clerk, open the rolls.
15 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, that bill's reported.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad.
Delegate Wilt, I think that takes care of you.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, excuse me. House Bill 2443 is a bill that allows for health benefit plans, associations for small business, a little bit broader than the previous legislation you heard from Delegate Head. It's basically the same principle. This body's already heard Senator Dunham's bill. You look favorably upon that. And I would ask that my bill be conformed to hers. There's some language on down in the heart of the bill that would make the bill a lot simpler. And
Is there a motion to conform House Bill 2443 to Senator Dunham's? Been moved and seconded that a bill be conformed. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have dealt with we've been moved and seconded that House Bill 2443 is conformed be reported. Clerk, open the rolls. See how easy that was?
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
14 ayes, 0 nays.
That bill's been reported. Delegate Aird. Good afternoon, good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Thank you.
I think I had two bills.
I think we may have dealt with one. Have we dealt with one? We still have both. Okay, Delegate Aird. Let's do with 2741 first.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, House Bill 2741 would create the Clean Energy Advisory Board. This legislation outlines a process by where the advisory board can determine a framework for a low to moderate income solar and loan rebate program. Mr. Chairman, right now we have 3.6 million households in the Commonwealth, of which 2.3 million are owner-occupied. These households spend a significant portion of their income on energy costs. And so this legislation is simply trying to allow for this Clean Energy Advisory Board to come together to outline that process where we can put solar, clean energy options for low to moderate income homes in the hands of more people.
Okay. Delegate Aird, as I understand this bill, it's an advisory board that will probably get back to us with their suggestions
Yes,
next
that's
year.
correct.
Okay. I have a note from Finance that you get to do this excellent presentation again in front of Finance if the committee chooses to report it. Is there a motion on the bill? Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and re-referred to the Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls. Okay, Delegate Aird, they got that bill's reported. And you
I
have one
believe
more.
House Bill 2664 should be before us now.
Okay. Committee will pay attention to 2664. Delegate Aird.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 2664 should look quite familiar to you.
Yes, it is.
As it is a companion bill to your wage statements legislation. I do have an amendment that I would like to have reported.
Mr. Chairman, the amendment's on line 51, after deductions therefrom, period, add a sentence. It says, an employer engaged in agricultural employment, including agribusiness and forestry, upon request of its employee, shall furnish the employee a written statement of the gross wages earned by the employee during any pay period and the amount and purpose of any deductions therefrom.
All right, it's a committee understanding appointment. It just gives us a special. I say, Senator Chafin, what the bill does is for agricultural things, recognizing a lot of those don't create pay stubs, don't have a normal payroll, forestry. This just says that the employee asks for one, they're going to give him a written one document out, okay? So that if he has one, if he needs one for a loan or any other thing that might happen. So it's actually kind of a carve-out, if you will, for the ag industry and the forestry industry, okay? Senator Cosgrove, Senator McDougal, Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, are we conforming this bill to your bill? Or are we doing something
No,
different?
but this is a new language that I will be happy to have it put on my bill over in the House. I think it's better language. It does provide an exemption for industry. We don't. It helps the farmers in
write
south
this day
side,
down.
southwest
That's all I
Patrick
gotta say.
County.
Yeah.
And if moonshining is considered an agricultural industry, I tell Senator Stanley that it probably helps out his folks if they're asking for pay stubs.
Moonshine is an act of civil disobedience.
Okay, all right. All right, is there a motion on the amendment?
Move the report.
No, the amendment. Been moved and seconded. The amendment be
Appreciate
adopted. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, the bill's before us is amended.
Now move the report.
Been moved and seconded. The bill be reported as amended. Clerk, open the rolls.
I thank the committee.
15 ayes,
Thank you,
0
Delegate
nays.
Eric. Did good, 2 for 2 today. That's excellent. I believe that completes the docket, if I'm not.
No.
Delegate Brewer. Been waiting patiently, and I didn't see you behind there. Okay, what you got for
I
us?
well, sir. I have before the committee today House Bill 1730, which is identical to Senator Reeves' bill. It's the foster care credit freeze. Currently, we have some 5-year-olds actually that are in foster care that have 5-year credit histories.
It is identical to whose bill?
Senator Reeves.
Senator Reeves' bill.
Yes.
Bill we passed out.
Correct.
Okay.
There,
All right.
Does his bill match the
Senate? The Senate's acted on this bill already favorably, so the bill needs to, it's been moved and seconded. The bill be reported and re-referred to Committee of Finance. Clerk, open the rolls.
Fifteen ayes, 0 nays.
Okay,
Thank
15
you.
ayes, 0 nays. That bill's reported. I believe that clears the docket. How many more bills we have next Monday? Less than 10. We should go quickly next Monday. I understand. And I wanted an easy Monday. Now that we satisfy Senator McDougal, the committee will rise.